The air is thick with heat and silence, broken only by the distant cry of unseen birds. It is the year 1536. The jungle of the New World breathes like a living creature, steaming and endless, swallowing the sky beneath a green storm of leaves. Through this maze of vines and shadow, a line of armored men pushes forward, their armor dark with sweat and rust, their faces carved by hunger. These are the forgotten conquistadors, soldiers, wanderers, and dreamers following rumors of gold deeper than any map dares to show. Their boots sink into the mud with every step. The air hums with insects, the kind that feed on exhaustion and blood. A man collapses under the weight of his pack, his breath rasping against the damp ground. Another drags him up, not out of mercy, but because the jungle will not stop for the weak. Behind them, the sound of a drum echoes faintly from the trees, distant, rhythmic, human. It is not theirs. They have been marching for weeks beyond the last known village, beyond the reach of their captain's letters or the king's glory. These men are not famous like Cortez or Pizarro. Their leader, Captain Hernando de Luna, is a name lost to the archives, yet in this moment, his ambition burns no less fiercely than theirs. He carries a fragment of a map, sketched by a dying friar who spoke of a golden city rising from a lake of mist. Whether the friar's words were prophecy or delirium no longer matters. The men have staked their lives on it. The host's voice rises with the rumble of distant thunder. Driven by faith and greed, they marched into lands no European had ever seen. Each step was a gamble with death, each breath a bargain with the jungle. The rain begins suddenly, tropical, unrelenting. The fire they struggled to keep alive vanishes in a hiss of smoke. The men drop their gear and crouch beneath crude shelters of leaves. They chew strips of dried meat that taste of salt and despair. One man, his lips trembling, clutches a silver crucifix against his chest. Lightning flashes, revealing the fear in his eyes. When dawn returns, the storm leaves behind a silence, so complete it feels wrong. The trees drip like slow tears. Their scout, a native guide named Itza, walks ahead barefoot, reading the land as if it speaks to him. He points to claw marks gouged into a tree trunk, fresh, deep, the signature of a jaguar. The men tighten their grip on their pikes somewhere in the canopy. A growl ripples through the air, low and near. By noon, the path narrows into a swamp. The conquistadors wade knee-deep through black water, dragging their weapons through the mire. Leeches cling to their legs. The armor that once symbolized power now becomes a curse of iron. Every step forward feels heavier, slower. Still they press on. Their captain rides behind them on a weary horse, a shadow of what once was a proud stallion. The animal's ribs are sharp beneath its skin. As night falls, they find a clearing where the trees open into a circle of mist. The ground is marked with strange carvings, spirals, and faces cut into stone. Ancient, older than any memory. The guide kneels and whispers a prayer in his tongue. The Spaniards build camp reluctantly. In the flicker of the torches, the carved stones seem to shift, their eyes catching the firelight like ghosts. The host's tone deepens. They believed themselves conquerors of empires, yet here they stood before a world untouched by their gods, older than their faith, indifferent to their glory. The men sleep in uneasy turns. Somewhere in the night, a scream cuts through the dark, short, sharp, human. The camp erupts. Torches flare, steel flashes. They find nothing, only a trail of blood leading into the trees and the mangled remnants of a boot. The jungle swallows its victims without a trace. When dawn breaks again, 2 men are gone. No one speaks their names. The expedition moves forward, quieter now, each step haunted by the weight of unseen eyes. Itsa, the guide, keeps glancing behind them. He senses movement in the foliage, a rhythm that matches their own footsteps. By midday, they emerge onto a ridge that overlooks an endless sea of green. Below, a river coils like a serpent of light, vanishing into mist. The captain raises his hand. His face is gaunt, but his eyes blaze. Somewhere out there, he believes, lies the city of gold. The descent is brutal. Vines trip their feet, the slope collapses beneath them. A soldier loses his footing and tumbles into the undergrowth. The others hear his cry fade into nothing. No one dares follow. The heat grows unbearable. Their water skins are nearly empty. They resort to catching rain in their helmets, drinking greedily from puddles alive with insects. One night, the riverbed becomes their path. The stones are slick and treacherous. Moonlight paints their armor pale. They move like shadows through silver fog. Then it happens. A volley of arrows bursts from the dark. The first strikes a man through the throat. He falls without a sound. Chaos erupts. Spears flash. The jungle explodes with shouts and war cries. Figures move between the trees, painted, silent, unseen. The Spaniards fire their arquebus, the gunpowder hissing wet in the rain. Smoke and flame bloom in the dark. The host's voice cuts through the storm. In the heart of the unknown, they met the ones who had always belonged to it. When the fight ends, the silence returns, heavier than before. 3 men lie dead. The captain's armor is dented, his hands stained with blood. The survivors stare into the jungle that hides their attackers. There is no victory here, only survival. They build no graves. The rain will take care of the dead. As dawn comes, a strange calm settles. The men move slower now, less like conquerors, more like ghosts. The jungle tests them again and again. Snakes in the grass, sickness in the water, the fever that burns without mercy. One by one, the proud soldiers of Spain are reduced to desperate wanderers. And yet they go on, because to turn back is death, and to go forward is at least the promise of meaning. Far ahead, their guide stops at the edge of a cliff. Through the mist, they see something, stone rising from the green, towers covered in vines, a city swallowed by time. The lost city of Itzel, older than their empire, unknown to their king. The captain drops to his knees. His eyes glisten not with triumph, but disbelief. The host's voice softens, carrying awe. They came seeking gold, but what they found was the echo of a world that had outlasted gods and kings. The jungle exhales around them. The drums begin again, closer now. The conquistadors ready their weapons, exhausted but unbroken. The camera pulls back slowly, revealing the vastness of the wilderness around them, endless and eternal. The storm returns. Lightning flashes over the ruins. And for a heartbeat, the gold they sought gleams in the rain. Not in coins or treasure, but in the light that catches their eyes, the fire that refuses to die. The ruins stand like a dream trapped between stone and mist. Vines cling to the faces of broken temples, roots split stairways once carved by hands now dust. The conquistadors move slowly among them, reverent, afraid to touch. The air feels heavy with memory. Birds cry from hidden places, their voices echoing off the cracked walls like whispers of the dead. The host's voice flows low, deliberate. Across the ocean they had come, chasing the shadow of gold. Yet here, in the silence of the jungle, it was they who became shadows. Captain de Luna lifts his hand toward the sky. The sun filters through the canopy in narrow shafts of gold, striking the stones. The men believe it a sign. For the first time in weeks, they smile. They build camp within the ruins, laying their armor in a circle around a crumbling courtyard. Some fall to their knees in prayer, others collapse in sleep where they stand. By nightfall, the jungle reclaims the city. Roots twist through the walls like veins of the earth. The fires burn low. The captain stares at the stone idols that line the temple stairs, faces half human, half beast, their mouths open in silent warning. He does not know their meaning, only that they watch. Rain begins again before dawn. It falls soft and endless, filling cracks in the stones until they gleam like mirrors. The men wake to find their supplies soaked, their powder useless. Hunger gnaws harder than fear. They scavenge through the ruins for anything edible, fruits, roots, insects, even the bark of trees. One man finds a skeleton half buried in the mud, wrapped in rotted cloth embroidered with gold thread. A conquistador who came before them, perhaps. The past has been here all along, waiting for them to join it. By midday, the captain sends small groups in all directions to search for food or paths forward. Itza, the guide, warns against moving deeper, but the captain's eyes burn with obsession. He is no longer leading men. He is leading a promise, a vision born of madness and hunger. The first group never returns. The second stumbles back at nightfall, bloodied and terrified. They speak of shapes moving in the mist, of arrows from nowhere, of voices calling their names in the dark. The jungle watches them again. The host's tone darkens. Every step that had once brought them closer to glory now led them deeper into the mouth of the unknown. And the unknown was patient. The next morning, the captain orders the march to continue. They leave the ruins behind, crossing the river that winds through the jungle's heart. The water is dark and cold, moving faster than it looks. They build rafts from logs and vines. The current pulls at them like invisible hands. A man slips. Another grabs him, but both are swept away before anyone can react. The river devours them without sound. Only their helmets remain, spinning in the current like silver shells. The others watch in silence, too numb for grief. They follow the river for days, its voice constant, whispering beneath the thunder of rain. The banks grow narrower, the trees denser. The air thickens with the smell of rot and smoke. Signs of life appear, abandoned huts, footprints in the mud, feathers tied to branches. Itza reads them carefully, his face pale. These are warnings, not welcomes. Then one night, the forest glows. Small lights float between the trees, fireflies, thousands of them, turning the dark into a slow-moving sea of stars. The men stop to watch, entranced. In the glow, they seem almost holy again, bathed in light after so many days of shadow. But the beauty hides danger. The sound of movement rises beyond the glow, soft, deliberate, human. The attack comes like a storm. Spears and arrows burst from the dark. The fireflies scatter. The jungle becomes a chaos of screams and flame. The Spaniards fire their guns, the smoke swallowing everything. One man's torch falls to the ground, igniting the dry leaves. Within moments, the forest itself is burning. The host's voice cuts through the roar of flame. In their fear, they set the jungle ablaze. And in that fire, they burned the last bridges between them and the world they sought to conquer. By dawn, the survivors number only 12. The captain is wounded, his armor blackened with soot. Its saw is gone. The forest behind them smolders in silence, a wasteland of ash. Ahead, the river still flows, glinting under the weak sun. They move toward it, dragging what little remains of their supplies. Days blur together. Hunger becomes a constant companion. They boil leaves for broth, eat insects from under stones. Fever spreads. One man raves of golden cities hidden beneath the river, his voice a whisper of delirium. The captain listens, saying nothing. His eyes are hollow, yet his hands still grip the fragment of the map. The river grows wider, calmer. The air grows colder. They have climbed into higher ground now, the jungle giving way to hills of mist and stone. For the first time in weeks, they see the sky open wide. Stars blaze above them, cold and endless. Some fall to their knees in awe. The captain looks up and imagines Spain, a world so far away. It feels like a story told in another lifetime. The next morning, they reach the place where the river splits into two. One branch vanishes into a canyon, the other curves toward distant mountains. The men argue, their voices rising, their minds breaking. At last, the captain makes his choice. He follows the canyon, the darker path. The canyon swallows them. Walls rise high on both sides, dripping with moss. The air grows damp and cold. Every sound echoes. A breath, a step, a heartbeat. They move like ghosts through stone corridors carved by time. Strange symbols appear on the walls, faint under the torchlight. Faces, hands, suns, eyes. Perhaps the marks of an ancient people, or perhaps just the mind of the river itself, writing its memory in stone. They find caves along the canyon's edge. Inside, the walls shimmer faintly with veins of gold. The men cry out in disbelief. The captain touches the rock, trembling. The gold is real, but unreachable, locked deep within the mountain, beyond their tools, beyond their strength. It is a cruel vision, one final mockery. Then, in the deepest chamber, they find bones, dozens of them arranged in patterns. Skulls facing upward, hands crossed over chests. Among them lies a sword, its blade rusted, its hilt engraved with a Spanish cross. Others had come this far before. Others had died the same way. The host's voice lowers, reverent and grim. The river of ghosts had carried them not to a city of gold, but to a graveyard of dreams. And in that silence, they saw themselves. They bury their dead and leave the cave. The captain walks last, the map still clutched in his hand. Rain begins to fall again, washing the blood from their path. They descend from the canyon into open land, where the jungle ends and the savanna begins. Grass sways under gray skies. For the first time in months, the wind feels clean. The survivors stand in the open and breathe deeply, as if waking from a nightmare. The captain kneels, presses his hand to the earth, and lets the map fall. It flutters once, then vanishes into the wind. The host's voice softens, almost a whisper. They had set out to conquer the world. Instead, the world had conquered them. Night comes. They build a small fire, the last one of their journey. The stars burn brighter than ever, and for the first time, the captain smiles, not in triumph, but in surrender. The river murmurs nearby, carrying away the ashes of their ambition. As dawn rises, they begin to walk again, not toward gold, but simply toward the horizon. Behind them, the jungle exhales, and the land closes its scars. The land has changed. The walls of jungle are gone, replaced by open plains that breathe beneath the pale morning light. Wind sweeps across the savanna, bending the tall grass like the waves of a silver sea. The few survivors walk slowly, each step heavier than the last. Their armor hangs loose on wasted frames. The gleam of conquest is gone. What remains are men stripped to the bone by hunger, memory, and faith. The host's voice floats over the sound of the wind. After months of darkness, they stepped into a world that felt new and ancient all at once. The air was cooler, the horizon infinite, and yet, even here, the shadow of the jungle followed them. The captain leads in silence. His sword is gone. Only the hilt remains. The map he once guarded like scripture is lost to the wind. Still, he moves with the same determination, as if his body remembers the purpose his mind has forgotten. Behind him, 6 men remain. Once soldiers of the Empire, they are now little more than wanderers stitched together by will. The plains stretch endlessly. Days pass without change. The sun burns, then fades. Nights grow colder. They drink from muddy pools, chew bark, and scrape the marrow from old bones they find buried in the dirt. Each man carries ghosts on his shoulders, the faces of comrades left behind in the jungle, the echoes of gunfire swallowed by trees. Then one evening they find a trail, deep prints pressed into the soil, fresh and human. The captain kneels, tracing the edges with trembling fingers. He looks up toward the distant hills. Smoke curls against the fading light. A village. The men stare in disbelief. After so long in silence, the sight of other life feels like salvation. They move faster, though their legs protest. The smell of smoke grows stronger, mixed with the faint aroma of roasted maize. But as they crest the final rise, the truth becomes clear. The village is deserted. Huts stand half-collapsed, fires still smoldering. Clay pots lie broken in the dust. Spears and shields are scattered like the remnants of flight. The wind carries the scent of ash and something darker, blood. The men move through the ruins slowly, weapons drawn. There are no bodies, only signs of struggle. The host's voice deepens. They had fled something, or someone. In the center of the village stands a totem of carved wood, blackened by fire. Its face is twisted, half human, half animal, its eyes filled with ash. Around its base are bones, clean, white, arranged in spirals. The men back away, unease spreading among them. That night, they sleep within the village walls. The fire burns low, casting long shadows on the empty huts. The wind hums through the cracks like a whispering voice. In the darkness, one of the men wakes to the sound of footsteps. He rises, heart pounding. The shadows move. He calls out softly, but there is no answer. Only the sound of breathing, close and unseen. By dawn, 2 men are missing. Their bedrolls are empty, their weapons gone. The captain searches the village and finds one thing left behind, a trail of footprints leading east, toward the hills. Some prints are bare, others belong to his missing men. They follow. The trail winds into a gorge where the earth narrows between stone cliffs. The air grows still. Overhead, vultures circle lazily. The captain halts when he sees something glinting on the rocks ahead, armor, battered and abandoned. One of the missing men lies slumped beside it, his throat marked by a single clean cut. His eyes stare upward, empty and glassy. The host speaks softly, almost mournfully. In these lands, death needed no reason. It simply waited. The others turn to flee, but the captain raises a hand. There is movement in the rocks above, a flash of color, a whisper of cloth. Figures appear on the ridge. Painted faces. Spears gleaming in the sun. The men freeze. What follows is not a battle. It is a collapse. Arrows rain down, swift and silent. One man falls, then another. The captain shouts orders, his voice breaking against the canyon walls. The survivors scramble for cover, firing their muskets. Smoke fills the gorge, thick and choking. When it clears, only 3 men remain. They run. The captain leads them blindly through the labyrinth of stone, down into the shadowed valley below. The sound of pursuit fades, replaced by the steady beat of their own hearts. They collapse beside a stream, gasping for air. Blood stains their armor, their hands, their memories. For the first time, the captain looks defeated. His eyes stare not at the horizon, but at the ground. In his mind, he sees the faces of all who followed him, the ones lost to jungle, river, fever, fire. The dream of gold has turned to ash, yet something inside him refuses to die. He grips the earth, his fingers clawing into the mud. The host's tone softens. He had come to conquer, but now only one conquest remained, to endure. They rest for a single day. By the next morning, only 2 rise. The third does not wake. His skin is pale, his lips blue. The captain covers his face with a torn cloak and moves on. He no longer counts the dead. The world feels thinner now, stripped of all but necessity, food, water, breath, the next step forward. Ahead lies a ridge that overlooks the endless plains below. From its peak, the captain can see the faint shimmer of water far in the distance, a lake or mirage. He cannot tell. He feels something stir within him, the faint echo of purpose. He points, and the last man nods weakly. Together, they begin the descent. The journey is slow. The land is harsher here, dry, cracked earth, sun-bleached bones scattered among the stones. Days pass without shade. The captain's companion grows weaker, stumbling often. At last, under a sky of burning light, he falls and does not rise again. The captain kneels beside him, whispering a prayer the wind carries away. He takes the man's water flask, half empty, and continues alone. The host's voice narrows to a whisper. Alone now, he marched on, a single soul adrift in the continent's vast silence. Every breath a confession, every step a surrender. The captain's face is hollow, his beard thick with dust. His armor, once polished to mirror the sun, now dull and cracked. He moves like a specter through the wasteland, his body a vessel driven by memory. At night, he dreams of the sea, the soft roll of waves, the gulls calling above the ports of Spain. He dreams of bells ringing in distant cathedrals, and he wakes to silence. Then one evening the horizon shifts. The lake is real. It glimmers gold beneath the setting sun. Around it, tall reeds sway in the wind. The captain laughs soundlessly, the first hint of joy in months. He stumbles toward the water, falls to his knees, and drinks. The water is cool, sweet, alive. He weeps. In the distance, faint shapes move among the reeds. Shadows of huts, perhaps smoke rising from fires. A village real or imagined? He cannot tell. He takes one step toward it, then another. His strength is gone, but the will remains. The camera follows from behind as he moves slowly toward the light. The sun sets, painting the world in crimson and gold. The host's voice rises, deep and reverent. He had crossed oceans and jungles, rivers and graves. Not for gold, not for empire, but for the unspoken hunger that drives all who wander, to find what lies beyond the edge of knowing. As night falls, the wind carries the sound of drums. Slow, distant, rhythmic. The same sound that once haunted the jungle. But now it feels different, not a warning, but a welcome. The captain stops. The world around him glows with the reflection of firelight. He closes his eyes, and for the first time, he smiles without fear. The screen fades slowly to black. The host's final words linger like a prayer. History remembers the names of kings and conquerors. But somewhere, beyond the written word, walk the forgotten ones, the nameless, the lost, who dared to step into the world's heart and never returned. Their story is not of conquest, but of becoming part of the land itself. A single spark rises into the night sky, then another and another, until the darkness fills with light. The lake shines beneath the stars. The drums continue, echoing softly into the vast silence. The sun rises over the lake, spilling light across the reeds like molten gold. Mist drifts above the surface, moving slow as breath. Birds circle overhead, their cries cutting through the stillness. On the shore, one figure lies motionless, half submerged in the water, armor glinting faintly beneath the morning glow. It is the captain, Hernando de Luna, the last of them. The host's voice returns, soft, distant. On this forgotten shore, the age of conquest found its silence. The man who had crossed the edge of the world had reached the edge of himself. He stirs faintly. His hand trembles against the earth, fingers clawing toward his sword hilt buried in the sand. Around him, the world hums with life, the gentle lap of water, the drone of insects, the rustle of reeds. It is a lullaby and a requiem. Days pass. We see the lake change colors with the sky, blue, gold, gray. Time no longer moves as it did in the Empire's calendars. The captain lingers between waking and dream. He sees faces in the clouds, his men, the jungles, the cities of Spain. He sees the banners of Castile ripple in phantom winds. But when he opens his eyes, there is only the vast emptiness of the new world. The host continues, the tone steady and elegiac. He had come seeking kingdoms to claim, but the land had no king to dethrone. It answered conquest not with war, but with indifference. At dusk he rises. Every motion is pain, but still he stands. He removes a small silver cross from his neck, presses it into the wet soil, and bows his head. Then he begins to walk, slowly, barefoot, leaving the lake behind. His armor, too heavy to bear, lies gleaming in the sand, a relic for no one to find. The camera follows him through open plains. His figure grows smaller against the horizon until it is only a shadow drifting through light. Thunder murmurs in the distance. The season of rain returns. Each step leaves an imprint that fills quickly with water, as though the land itself is erasing him. The host's voice drops lower. History would not remember him. The records would speak of Cortez and Pizarro, of crowns and crosses carried on the tide. But for every name engraved in gold, there were 100 lost to the soil. Years pass. The screen fades to a new dawn. This time, the sound of horses and voices breaks the silence. Another expedition, smaller, cleaner, arrives at the edge of the same lake. Their banners bear the same red cross, their faces young, their dreams bright. They find rusted armor half buried in sand, a sword hilt crusted with green. One man kneels and brushes away the dirt, revealing a faint engraving, De Luna. He calls to his commander. They lift the relic into the light. The sun flashes across the blade, scattering reflections onto the water. For a moment, it looks as though the lake burns with gold. The host speaks again, measured, reflective. They did not know who he was. They did not know how far he had come, or how far he had fallen. Yet holding the rusted steel, they felt it, a whisper from the land itself, the echo of empire fading into dust. The explorers build camp beside the ruins of a village long vanished. They talk of founding a settlement, of baptizing the lake, of carving a name into maps that have forgotten none of their arrogance. But when night comes, they too fall silent. The drums begin again, soft, distant, ancient. The same rhythm that haunted the first expedition. The same heartbeat of the earth. The young commander stares into the darkness, unease written across his face. The jungle looms at the edge of their fires, its shadows alive. He senses something watching, something that does not sleep. The host's tone becomes almost a whisper. In the wilderness, memory never dies. The land remembers every footstep, every flame, every dream of dominion. It absorbs them, reshapes them, and waits for the next. At dawn, they depart, leaving the lake untouched. The wind carries their voices away. When they are gone, the camera lingers on the shore. The silver cross still stands where the captain placed it, half buried, glinting faintly as water laps its base. Rain falls again. The surface of the lake ripples, blurring reflection into reflection until sky and water become one. Beneath that surface, fish move silently among broken swords and fragments of armor. The world has healed over its wounds. The host's voice returns for the final time, calm and solemn. The empire would go on, cities rising, crowns changing hands, the tide of conquest rolling onward. Yet here, in the heart of the continent, one man's footsteps marked the true frontier. Not of geography, but of human hunger, the endless desire to go farther, to see what lies beyond the map. The camera rises higher, above the lake, above the plains, until the entire landscape unfolds like an open page. The jungle stretches to the horizon, its canopy breathing in waves of green. Clouds drift across mountains of stone. The sound of drums fades into the rush of wind and the call of birds. The light grows brighter, warmer. The narrator's final words linger like a benediction. Empires fade. Gold tarnishes. Names are forgotten. But the earth endures. And within its silence lies the story of those who dared to walk into it, carrying both their faith and their folly. These were the conquistadors, not gods, not devils, but men. And in the end, the land they sought to rule became their only witness. The music swells, deep strings and distant choral voices. The last image, sunlight breaking through clouds, scattering over the lake like fire.